Hello, Coach. Welcome to the Underdog Hoops Podcast. You're going to see a great interview here. I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you haven't, go check out Underdog Hoops University, where you can get a 14-day free trial. Helps you kind of get your coaching repertoire in check. And it is a 14-day free trial. I hope you guys go check it out.
Welcome to Underdog Hoops, presented by great coaches in our basketball community. From the Underdog Hoops studio in Rancho Cucamonga, California, here is your host, Sam Farrar.
Okay, so how do you handle in-game adjustments when the original game plan isn't working?
Well, in-game adjustments are pretty easy for middle school. If they're running a press, you put a guy in the middle. We'll have certain plays out of that, but our press break is put a guy in the middle. If they're running 2-3 zone, you put a guy in the middle. If we can't do anything on offense, if they're in a man-to-man kind of situation, then I'll try to set some more heavy ball screens because I have a really good point guard this year. And if he can go off some good screens, I'll probably end up just resorting to that, where eventually if I can't get anybody else involved, I'll kind of slow it down a little bit and just say, you go off a screen and you make stuff happen. If I see a weakness somewhere, then maybe we can try to change a play or two, or I'll usually try to run kind of a quick hitter out of certain spots. That way, if they can't guard them, if I run it earlier in the game and they couldn't guard it, then I'll try to do it again, just the way we get some points or something like that. And then obviously I'll probably have to switch some guys on defense if we play man. Depending on like if they're faster or bigger or stronger, I have to change up guys, see who they're guarding. The big guy I have this year, he's really athletic and he's not very big, so he can guard the smaller guys, which I like to change him around sometimes just because he can be in a smaller guard's face a little bit better. So I change stuff like that around, and I'll usually change defenses once every game, just to throw people off too. That way they're not necessarily expecting us to start in a 2-3 zone and then go to man or vice versa or whatever. And then I'll usually try to add maybe a 1-2-2 or a 1-3-1 in there. And then if we can really get away with it, maybe a couple like backdoor cuts. I have a really good play out of a horn set with a backdoor cut in there that I'll call when I really need to. I guess that would be it. I don't really know. Can't really think of anything else.
Okay. All right, so game preparation, kind of situation stuff. What's your process for preparing for like a big game, like your rival, kind of middle school or
So
well,
the game days for our middle school are usually 4 games in a row. It's girls JV, girls varsity, boys JV. Or sorry, I'm sorry. It's girls JV, boys JV, girls varsity, guys varsity. So usually they'll go into the gym. They'll sit. We have a little designated kind of a student section area. They'll sit there. They'll get all the talking and jokes and all that stuff set aside. I tell them when they get in the locker room, you got to get locked in. You got to be serious. And then I'll usually try to go in there a little bit early, just like to go over things. If they have questions, we'll go over it on the whiteboard. If they have questions about what we did in practice earlier today, if we played the team or earlier in the week, if we played the team before, then if they have questions about what that team might do again. But once they get in that locker room, I tell them, you got to be locked in. If I catch you messing around, then you're going to have to pay for it in practice, either the next day or the next week or whenever the next practice is. If it's a really, really big game, then sometimes I won't even let them joke around before while they're watching the girls JV. I'll go sit with them a little bit and kind of kind of rein them in a little bit before we even start, and then they got to be ready to go in that locker room, or else I get mad. So
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. My guys, I'll tell them to lock in. You guys need to focus right now. If we go like away games or stuff like that, I'm usually just like, hey guys, on the bus, focus.
yeah,
Because I think that's important. To get
away
them to
games
focus.
are away games are kind of difficult for us because we'll just sit in the bleachers. There's no one really has a locker room for an away
Yeah.
team. So I kind of use the same kind of idea. If we're watching the game before, then they like, oh, they can watch the game, they can chat with their friends and stuff. But usually halftime or the third quarter of the game before us, I'll be like, let's start being quiet and going over stuff. If they have questions, this is the time they need to reach out. And I think a big rule of mine is if you're listening to music, that's fine, but you should not be on your phone at all during when you're in that locker room or after halftime. And it's hard for some kids because they love their phones and stuff. So that's
Yeah.
a big thing of me, is getting the phone away from them.
Yeah, I see that as a good thing. Because then they'll wait to put on their shoes. Then they'll wait to put on everything and get ready. And then it's like, come on, man. Like, you have
It's
time.
5 minutes before the game. It's like, why aren't your shoes on? Like, come on.
Yeah. So I don't do like, hey, like, you guys got to focus and like get your shoes on. We got to lock in. That's pretty much my thing to my guys. Obviously they might be a little more mature than middle school, but
Sure they are.
they're not really.
It's always easy just to threaten them with running. So that's usually what I do.
Yeah. And yeah. How do you teach players to perform under pressure?
First thing I usually tell them is to breathe. You got to be able to breathe, especially at the free throw line. Free throws are very important in every game, in every situation, in any kind of basketball you play in. If you're a good free throw shooter, you will be good at basketball. So when you're up on that free throw line, you got to be cool, calm, and collected. And that starts with breathing and having a good routine. If we're in a high intense pressure situation during the game and they're not at the free throw line or something, then that's when I'll usually try to use my timeouts and be like, guys, we really got to make sure we do this or we do that. But if they make a mistake, it's okay. You got to earn it back. It's kind of hard. A lot of the kids get really hard on themselves and have really bad attitudes when they make a mistake or they miss a shot or something. And yeah, it does suck when they miss a shot or make a turnover, but that's when they gotta be able to work it back, get back on defense, earn it back, because you never know what's gonna happen. If you throw a steal and you get back and earn it back on defense, sure, you might foul or you might be able to cause another turnover for a team. So stuff like that really helps. And just play under control, play to your pace. Don't force anything. Don't try to make something happen that's not going to happen. Trust the offensive system that we run. Trust your teammates. Those are the big things, I think. Trusting yourself and trusting your teammates. And that's why we work on that stuff in practice. So
I like that. I can tell you kind of what I do when my kids are in pressure situations. First of all, I'll go over them in practice like, hey, there's a last second shot and we're like all the way down at the other baseline. This is what we do. But that's like half the battle. They got to be able to do be able to execute.
yeah.
So what I'll do is when we're in that game and I can kind of relate it to one that we had last year with one of our, we switched leagues. So we're with a new group of teams, but this group of teams, they were rough. I could kind of get the sense early that they're going to be rough. and tough. They're gonna bully you around. And we were up 10, lost the lead. I think we were down 6, tied the ball game like in the fourth quarter. Um, and yeah, we tied the game. Very, very just like my kids were exhausted. Um, I then kind of called the timeout. This is overtime number 1.
Yeah.
And they're gassed. And I'm like, okay, take a breath. Like, just take a few seconds. We're going to breathe for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
The other 30 seconds, I'll tell you what to do.
That 30 seconds right there is a good time to just be like, you got to calm down.
Yeah, exactly. So I tell them like, hey, I'm going to go talk to our assistant coach. We'll kind of get our plan together. This is your time to breathe and talk amongst yourselves. And then I'm going to come back and you guys give all the focus to me. And so we did that. We got into overtime number 2, and then we ended up pulling away in overtime number 2 because the other team was gassed. Like, they were just so tired. Their guy that hit like probably 6 threes because we weren't guarding that guy, and I'm like, that's the guy. But we came back every time, so it's I just kind of tell him like, that's your resilience for getting through those pressure situations. So that's kind of how I've done it. Is, hey, when we get in those pressure situations, we're gonna take a timeout if I have one, and we're gonna just breathe. Like, for 30 seconds, you just gotta focus on your breathing, and then we'll get back into it because it focuses your mind after you do that.
Yeah, I had a similar situation kind of game too, as another double overtime. I actually had a 5th grader in with like 10 seconds left, and he ended up hitting the game-winning shot. So that goes back to having your bench be ready, and just
Yep.
You never know when you're going to be in the game, and you never know if you're going to be taking that last shot. And if you're freaking out, then it's not going to happen. So you got to make sure you're under control of your emotions and your body. So
That's one other thing that you mentioned was the bench. I try to get my kids to be very active on the bench, like they're chanting defense the whole time. And they're really just engaged in the game. They can't be not engaged. They can't be sitting over by themselves on the bench. They got to be all together, and then they get up and high five their teammates after. So those are the little things that I try to implement so that when we're in the high pressure situations, our teammates got our back, whoever's in at the moment, and we really focus on that, like, too, as a pressure situation.
yeah, those are definitely good things.
All right. So, what's your strategy for late game timeouts? I know we kind of talked about the timeouts, but what's your final shot situation look like? We'll go into that.
So if it's a side out, usually some sort of ball screen, maybe try to fake a guy. It depends how much time's left, but usually try to fake a guy to the back court. As kind of a distraction. Have another guy come run through a ball screen, either close to the goal or close to a 3-point line, depending on if I need a 2 or a 3. If I have enough time to get the ball in bounds and run a play, then I'll do that. Usually get it to my point guard, then come run a ball screen, try to drive and kick, or just take it all the way and get fouled. But if I got like 2 seconds left and it's got to be a catch or shoot, usually just kind of sometimes I'll stack them at the free throw line, maybe little ball screen, or not a ball screen. I guess you'd call it a off ball screen with the guy I want taking the last shot. Have 2 guys go separate ways just to clear out. I actually had one. It almost worked pretty well. it was kind of a stack. It was a little bit of a staggered stack at half court. Sent two guys in opposite directions. One guy turned around, set the screen for the point guard. The point guard came towards the inbounders, and we hit the big man rolling towards the basket. He missed the shot, but it worked. It worked pretty well. So, kind of that diversion. They're not really expecting the big man to get that ball on that last shot, kind of thing.
Very cool. Okay, so I'll just kind of go with your youth and AU kind of experience. How does coaching youth or AU different from kind of, or how are they different to you? So like your youth experience coaching middle school and the AAU experience.
I kind of try to keep it a little bit similar. Middle school, I'm teaching a little bit younger kids, and AAU, I'm teaching a little bit older. But for the most part, I try to keep the same philosophies and the same coaching styles. With the older AAU players, I try to make sure that they know the reality of why we're playing AAU basketball. For me, AAU basketball is a practice in itself. I don't think it matters, but it's extra practice for you. It's extra practice for you to be able to make your high school team. So if you're just going to come to practice again and mess around, then whatever, you paid to be here. But I think it's very important for my AAU team that they know that they got to listen to me. I know what I'm doing. If they can listen to me, then you'll be able to make your high school team, because I teach a lot of eighth graders, or I coach a lot of eighth graders going into high school. And it's like, these are the things that high school coaches will be looking for. Like, if you can't set a good ball screen, then you will not play. If you can't make your free throws, you will not play. If you keep fouling, you will not play. So I try to, that would be kind of something different that I would teach, because I teach, or sorry, I keep saying teach, coach, that I coach, I teach, or gosh, I keep saying teach. I coach younger kids, 5th and 6th graders, so they're not really worried about going into that high school level of basketball yet, unlike the AAU players. But and I think as well, I don't really know how to describe it, just because I don't know if it's respect or what it is, but I feel like the younger middle schoolers don't respect me, but those older 8th graders do. Older 8th graders, freshmen in high school, that they respect me, just because of the fact that they do realize the situation that they're trying to go into high school. They're trying to play high school basketball, that sort of thing. And I can't. I don't know how to describe it other than respect. But like, they're 5th and 6th graders, so they don't. I mean, they don't respect anybody just because they're so young. I don't know if they know what that means, but I don't know if I said that right. But
All good. And when you coach, you're also teaching them, so it's not a it's all good. So what do you focus on most with younger players, whereas you can maybe get away with not doing with your older AAU players?
definitely fundamentals, dribbling, using your right hand on the right side, using your left hand on the left side, layups. Make sure you hit the screen with your shoulder, slide your feet on defense, got to cut the guy off in front of you. Pretty much the basics. I'll try to teach my younger kids that. The 8th graders, freshmen in high school, you should know that. If I got to teach you that stuff, then you might want to rethink about playing basketball. But I can expand on the basics with the older people or the older kids, and I'll do that really well, just because they can learn. Because once you got the basics to understand, there's also that other level of, I know what I'm doing, but I'm going to be doing it at a much higher level, so that way it looks like I'm doing something really complicated, when in reality I'm just setting a simple screen. So if I can teach them how to set that simple screen and have a really good seal off, get their defender off their back and open up a good space for my point guard to get to the basket, or if I have a great lane to get to the rim, then something like that where you excel at something so basic is what I would try to teach the older guys.
Okay. What kind of advice would you give parents to support their young athlete? Because that's important too.
Yes, it is. I would say that, you got to trust me as a coach, and you got to trust the other coaches too, that we do know what we're doing. We're here for a reason. And if the player's got a problem, then you can come talk to me about that, but you just got to be supportive. Sometimes people won't get in every game. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes bad things happen. But as a parent, you just got to be supportive. You got to be there for your kid. If you played basketball yourself, then you can help coach them up too. I know a lot of the parents that I have are really invested in our games and basketball games. So they try to help their kids learn stuff. They will agree with me what I tell the kids. Just not be so hard on them all the time for middle school basketball. So
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just a sport. You're just trying to have fun.
Yep. And I think some parents kind of get carried away with all this, like trying to follow they're trying to live their sports through their kids. So sometimes I know who that is. Like I've known who that is kind of right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Just once I meet the parents, it's like, okay, I can tell that you want to live through your son, or I'm gonna have a problem with you.
Yeah.
So so I can kind of gauge that kind of leads into the following question, which would be, what is your approach to communicating with parents?
If the parents have something to tell me, they are free to call, text, whatever they want. For me, they can go talk to the athletic director. They can come talk to me. I've had several parents, come up to me after games and give me. I mean, I'm still new. I'm still learning. They give me input. I learn what they say. They've been doing it a lot longer than I have, whether that be watching basketball or playing basketball. So I try to take their opinions and value their opinions. If they have a problem, I haven't had parents have a problem with me yet, knock on wood. But if they did have a problem with me, I would just try to, understand what the problem would be, what I needed to do better. If they needed to talk to the athletic director and the athletic director needed to talk to me, if they didn't feel comfortable with talking to me directly, that's fine. Just whatever we can do to resolve a problem we may have or something like that. I will say some parents, obviously question playing time. And I say, I've had to tell a couple kids' parents this. You have to tell your kid that he needs to be better at practice, because I will change my starting lineup. I will change the first couple guys off the bench every week, depending on what kind of practice you have during the week. If you're just messing around and chucking up random shots and not doing what we're supposed to be doing, then I'll tell your parents that, and then they'll know why you aren't playing. So that way, one, they're not mad at me. They can get mad at their kid, which is better for me. But they can tell their kid, it's like, yeah, you will be able to play if you do better in practice. And I actually had a kid this past year. His parents were kind of questioning his playing time, and I was like, well, I need to see it a little bit more in practice. And he stepped up in practice, and he ended up becoming one of my better players towards the end of the year. So
awesome. How do you continue to grow and learn as a basketball coach?
Watch a lot of basketball. Watch a lot of college basketball. I try to watch a lot of college basketball. Not so much NBA. I think it kind of teaches me a little bit of bad habits. Obviously, watch YouTube videos. I follow your page, so I get a lot of plays and stuff from your page as well. Just try to gain experience anywhere I can. If someone needs to tell me something, then I'll listen. If someone wants to show me something, then I'll listen. Try not to just knock on someone just because they're trying to show me something, but just trying to gain experience wherever I can.
Of course. I'm still learning, so I don't
I don't think
have,
I don't think a coach is never not learning. So
yeah. So I'll learn until I don't want to coach anymore.
yeah,
So that's kind of how I take it, is I'll learn until I'm either dead or
yeah, I
or
agree.
not
I
coaching
agree.
anymore. Um so what's been your most rewarding moment as a coach?
I won the championship, our league's championship, the first year that I coached. It was a good day. All the kids were so happy. I was really happy for them. All the parents really happy. So the joy that I get, or the joy that the kids and the parents get, is what gives me happiness. So last year we fell a little bit short, but I thought that a lot of the parents and a lot of the players were pleased with our season. So that brought me a little bit of joy, even though we didn't get where we wanted to get. But those things.
Okay. I like that. Okay, what's a lesson that you've learned the hard way in your coaching career?
I feel like trying to force situations onto the players and trying to force certain players into certain situations. Sometimes I just have to let the players play, and if they make a mistake, they make a mistake. I can't be too hard on them. If I know one of my starters has an issue with chucking up shots randomly, then I'm like, you can't be doing that in this situation. So I might bench you in the final 2 minutes of the game. Whereas I would need someone to distribute the ball, try to go get a layup and not take a sidestep 3-pointer, something like that. Or just kind of trusting my players to do what's right. I mean, they're not going to make every shot. They're middle schoolers, so they miss a shot, then just gotta take it with them. So
I think the biggest thing that I've learned the last few years is just, hey, you got the next play. Don't worry about the one that you just took. Next play,
I agree.
because they'll get it in their head like, oh, I gotta miss that shot, like, and then they'll do terrible because they'll walk back on defense or jog back on defense, and then they'll miss an assignment, and then it's just a catalyst. So I try to tell them, hey, have that next shot like mentality, like, hey, I'll get the next one, okay? And if you're not, like, after 2 or 3 or 4 and you're missing them, find something else to do.
Go rebound.
Yeah,
Something
go
like
rebound, go pass the ball, make the extra effort. Those are little things that, hey, you'll be in the game if you do that. Yeah, and that's kind of how I've learned. You just gotta slow down. They're gonna make mistakes. I know that
Yeah.
now.
Everybody makes
Um,
mistakes.
oh yeah. So what legacy would you hope to leave behind as a coach? So you can kind of look into the future and kind of what you want to do and all that good stuff. So this is our last question.
Well, I hope one day I'm a great, successful either college basketball or NBA coach. That's the dream. I just want to leave behind a legacy of respect and being able to care for my players and not being like some coaches I had when I was growing up that just dogged on you for no reason, just kind of being there, being uplifting for people, being able to someone can come and talk to. Just being a good person, I guess, because I feel like a lot of coaches in basketball and coaches in other sports can be terrible people sometimes. So just leave behind that I don't want to be a terrible person and a terrible basketball coach at the same time. So
Yeah, I like that. All right, hold on.
Hello, Coach. Thank you for watching the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, go check out Underdog Hoops University. Get a 14-day free trial. It's $14.99 after that. As of right now, it may be higher as you're watching it later, but go check it out, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.